Hello, my wonderful children. Welcome to math class. We are getting into our next unit, and this unit is all about percents. Now, percents might be one of the things we see most often when it comes to using math in the real world. We see percents all over the place. You go to the store, everything's on sale, 10% off, 20% off, 30% off. You're getting loans, you have a percent for your interest rate, you have a percent for all of your grades are percent based. So we see percents all over the place. So it'll be good to know what is a percent. And so if we were to think about defining the word percent, we could say this is a ratio of a number to 100. It's a ratio of a number to 100. So it's if you had 100 of something, it's how many of that thing you would have, right? So if your homework is out of 100 points and you get a 75, you get a 75%, right? So the percent is when our fraction or when our ratio is out of 100, the top number here is our percent. And so percents are just comparing things to 100. Any and all the time, comparing things to 100. So we can visualize that a little bit. I have this hundreds chart that I have pulled up on the side here, right? Here's a good old hundreds chart. We love these. So there are 100 squares in here, right? It's 10 by 10. So if I were to color in, let's say I colored in 6 of these squares, I would have colored in 6%. I colored in 6 out of 100. That would be 6%. All right, because percents are always out of 100. If I colored in these boxes, what percent did I color in? And pretend that the ones that I colored in are fully colored in. If there's color in them, pretend that they are fully colored in. What percent of my boxes did I color in here? Well, we can count. We know each row is 10, so this is 10, 20, and then we have 2 in every other row. So 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36. I colored in 36% of my 100 chart. 36% of this is colored in. And that is how percents work. If we're using a hundreds chart, which we rarely do, but when we're using a 100 chart, and you'll see a 100 chart when we're going over this, it's how many squares are colored in out of 100. Now, today what we're going to do is not only be able to visualize, but we're going to be talking about writing percents as decimals and writing percents as fractions. So if I had a percent, 17%, and I wanted to turn this into a fraction. Okay, if I want to go from a percent to a fraction, this is going from percent to a fraction. Well, we know all percents are out of what number? All percents are out of 100. A percent is always going to be out of 100. And then our top number is that percent. So this would be 17 out of 100. Okay, percents are always, the top number is the numerator and the bottom number is 100. It just works that way all the time. If I had 53%, that would be out of 100, 53 on top. If I had 35%, that would be out of 100, 35 on top. But this one we can simplify. What does 35 and 100, what does 35 100ths simplify to? Yes, this simplifies to 7/20ths. Each of these numbers here can be divided by 5, and that gives us 7 out of 20. Remember, when we're dealing with fractions, we always want to simplify. Okay? Always be simping. All right, so it is good to know that if we are wanting to take a percent and turn it into a fraction, that it is always out of 100. Okay? Let's write that down so we have that all written down so we're all on the same page. Percents are always out of 100. Okay, but what if I had 250%? Well, percents are always out of 100. Okay, always out of 100. This percent would turn into 100 on bottom, 250 on top. These can both be divided by 10. Since they both end in a 0, they can both be divided by 10. That gives us 25 over 10. Those numbers can both be divided by 5. That gives us 5 out of 2. Fraction 5/2 would be 250%. Always be simping. All right. So hopefully that helps you to remember how to get fractions and percents. To get percents into fractions, fractions are always out of what number? 100. Fractions always out of 100. Now, what if I have a percent and I want to turn it into a decimal? I have a percent and I want to turn it into a decimal. What am I going to do to turn this into a decimal? Well, let's say I have 43%. Okay. To turn a percent into a decimal, this works this way every single time we do it. Every time we do this, it works. We are going to move decimal 2 places to the left. Every time we do this, we're going to be moving our decimal 2 places to the left. So 43%. Do I have a decimal here? There's not one visible, but I have one. It's always, if there's not one visible, I always have one right at the end. So I'm going to put my decimal in, move it 2 places back, and that will give me 0.43. Okay, what if I had 3.7%? Well, I'm going to take my decimal, move it 2 places back, add in a 0. When I have blank spaces, I add in a 0, and that is 0.037. 100%. Take my decimal. I don't have one, so I add one in here. Move it 2 places back. 1, 2. That is 1. Technically 1.00, but we don't need a 0, so it's 1. All right, so decimals, we always want to be moving 2 places back, and that's going to be how we go from a percent to a decimal. Every time, move 2 places back. All right, I got a couple problems that I want you to do. Give me some answers to them, and then you are good to go for the day. I want a fraction of 18 percent. I want a fraction of 18%, and I want a decimal of 3%. Bye, children. Have a great night.